This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go.
Welcome to the Coach Clark Connection Podcast. Great to have you on here. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka the Coach. I'm with you. I'm ready. We got a lot of great stuff going on. And to get it kick started, I want to ask you a question. What's your plan for personal growth? Now, before we get into it, I got to thank my sponsors. So huge shout out to Wayne with 7K Metal Associates. Look, if you're looking to protect your wealth, if you're looking to diversify your wealth, or if you're looking to grow your wealth, they do it with gold and silver. Call Wayne. He is extremely knowledgeable and has plenty of different ways to help you and to reach your needs and your goals and all different walks of life. You don't have to have that $5,000 to $10,000 to put down. That he can get you started with as little as $150. That he can even go lower than that, but call Wayne. His information is below. Tell him Coach Clark sent you. Also, another huge shout out to Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC. Go see her for all of your craniosacral therapy needs. Episode 3 that we talked about it. I got her on and she was talking about, what all it does. I know another one that she loves to do that is manual lymphatic drainage, that MLD, that you will not regret either one of those. I love getting them both. I don't experience the same sicknesses, the same pain. I've been doing the cranio for 2 years now. Do not have migraines. That was my biggest thing. I struggle to get 2 or 3 a month, but do not get them now. They go see her. It's for all, just general health. They go see her. You won't regret it. Tell her Coach Clark sent you and that'll get you 10% off of your visit. I want to also thank Andrew with Automate Integrate Business Professional Services. Call him for all of your business, technical, and marketing needs. If you're looking for automations with your business, he's helping me with mine. Go see him. Tell him Coach Clark sent you. And he will hook you up. Tell him, hey, Aaron Clark told me to give you a call. All of his information is below. You'll go to his website, fill out a form. And look, somebody from his team will get with you. And those guys, look, they're awesome. They're the best in the business. You will not regret going to work with Andrew at Automate Integrate Services. And so I'm going to kick back to that first question that I just asked. What's your plan for personal growth? If you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. And personal growth, like everything else, you've got to be intentional. And so where I'm going to be pulling a lot of this information from, especially on this episode, if you have not read The 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth by John C. Maxwell, man, go get it, go read it. It is worth every second you spend doing so. As a Maxwell certified trainer, I can tell you that this is one of my favorite books, and it's one of my favorite to do trainings on, because I'm so passionate about personal growth and what personal growth has done for me. And, all of us that we have, if you were sitting in front of me, I would ask you, hey, who in here thinks that they've reached their full potential? And I'd ask for you to raise your hand. And every time I've done this, I can probably count on one finger how many people did it. And I know they were doing it just to be funny. But we hadn't reached our potential. We've all got a lot of potential. And, I used to have a coach that would tell me that he would say, man, someone telling you, man, you've got a lot of potential is the worst compliment that you can get, because it means you hadn't made it yet. You hadn't done it yet. You hadn't done anything yet. And so with personal development, not professional development, I don't believe there's a such thing as professional development. That there's all personal growth that you just happen to use on the job. That's my opinion. I just don't believe that there's such a thing. But guys, they go get you this copy, get you the 15 laws of invaluable growth. And I promise you, you will not regret it. It's a great, great, great book. And it really gets you thinking on where to go with that process. And so in here, off of it, law number one from the 15 laws of invaluable growth is the law of intentionality. You got to be intentional. You got to have a plan. You got to have something that you're working forward and towards that to make yourself grow. Growth doesn't just happen on its own. You don't just happen to grow. Now, that's where we get confused, because oftentimes, if you think about it, think back to when you were a child. What did you have to do? You just ate and you slept and you grew. That was it. It wasn't a whole lot to it. But somebody had to give you the right foods to eat. Somebody had to make sure you were going to sleep. And as far as education goes, our education journey, somebody was making sure that you were in the chair, learning from your teacher. Your growth journey, your personal growth journey was mapped out for you. It wasn't that something that you had to think about, because you knew, hey, from 7:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon, I'm going to be at school. And so when you are working on this, always remember that working hard does not guarantee success. Okay. So just because I go and work hard doesn't mean it's going to work out right. I've got to make sure I'm intentional. And, hope isn't a strategy either when it comes to personal growth. People, they're anxious for their circumstances. And I love this quote by James Allen. It says, people are anxious for their circumstances to improve, but often are unwilling to improve themselves. From his book, As a Man Thinketh. Think about that. How many people, if I were to ask, if you were sitting in front of me, I would ask that question again. Who in here wants a better circumstance? Who wants their circumstance to change? Who wants better? And I always look around the room, and every single one of their hands go up. Everybody's hand goes up. And then the next question is, who in here is willing to change to get better? Who is willing to do something different that they weren't doing before? You start to see some hands go down at this point. And even if they have it up, you can tell they're kind of like, I'm leaving it up because I'm in the crowd and I said I won't. But it's a difficult journey, because nobody wants to change who they are in order to get better. It's definitely something to think about, guys. What is my plan for personal growth? How am I going to be intentional about what it is that I'm doing to grow? And so with that, our most important thing, guys, and you'll hear me say this a lot, is you got to be intentional. The law of intentionality. I have to have a specific plan that I'm thinking about, that I'm envisioning, and I got to act on it. Remember, it doesn't happen by accident. It takes purposeful thought. And, oftentimes, guys, after our formal education, most of us don't have anything planned. Most people don't think past high school, what are they going to do? I've said it before, out of those who graduate with their formal education, let's say you're like, well, Aaron, I got my master's degree, I got my PhD, I got, fill in the blank. They fill in the degree that you got, whatever it is. Once your formal education ends, you are now responsible for you and your growth plan. And if it isn't working out how you want it, I told you the toughest person to lead is that sucker that looks back in the mirror. Because I tell you, he tells me all the time that whether I'm doing a good job. He knows that if I'm giving it my all, that person that looks back at you in the mirror, look them in the eye, look them right in the eye, and they will tell you if you're doing a good job or not. That's the person you're accountable to whenever you leave your formal education, that person that looks back in the mirror. But then those of us that go on and get married and have children, guess what? It's your responsibility to make sure that you become the best you for your spouse and then for your children. Because ultimately, the better you are, the more you can give. So remember, I can't give what I don't have. If I don't have it, I can't give it. And so high school graduates, so listen to this statistic, and you've probably heard me say it before, and I refer to it a lot because it's so astounding to me that this, and people say all the time, what's wrong with our country? And I honestly believe this is one of the things right here is we don't read. 68% of high school graduates never read. Once they graduate, they never read another book. They never read another book. We all watch TikTok. I mean, I'm just as guilty. I love giving a little doing what, as they're calling it these days, the death scroll, where you're just sitting there and you look at that one. Oh, that was a funny video. And we're just scrolling. It's because we aren't intentional about our growth. 68% of high school graduates never read a book again. 68%. That's more than 2/3. That's not good numbers. Unless we're playing baseball. And then you bet that percentage, what is that? That 32%, you're getting paid $1 million. But that's the only sport. That's the only thing where when you fail that much more than you actually succeed, that you're getting paid a lot of money. Then if we look at college graduates, and they lumped all of these in together, 43%. 43%. So that's almost half of college graduates never read a book once they finish their formal education. So once they're done, they're done. They don't read again. And this statistic I found quite shocking. It said 32% of people have never actually been in a bookstore. Now, you could be saying, look, Aaron, who has to go into a bookstore now? Look, you just hop on the internet and you order whatever you want, and boom. I mean, that's how I got this one. I ordered it online. I didn't even go to the store to order the 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth. Most of my books that I have now, I'm not actively going to the bookstore to go get. But it's so vital to get in there to start seeing what else is out there, and to actually, and I'm a huge fan of the actual paper books, to be able to touch, see, and I mean, I got notes all up in here where I underline and write, and so many other books that I have. There's just something about being able to touch and feel the actual book, and I do have some that I do digitally as well. And so the other thing that I like to throw out there and ask people, that being intentional about your growth. Like, if I were to ask you, how many books a year I hate to call it average, how many books a year does a CEO read? Now, how many books a year does a CEO read? 10, 20, 30, 40? The answer is closer to 50. Most read 52 books per year. And so this kind of brings about the chicken or the egg, which came first, the chicken or the egg. And I asked that right here. Did the CEO become CEO and then start reading 52 books a year? Or did the CEO become CEO because they were reading 52 books a year? Now, which was it? And I can tell you, it's the latter. They didn't become CEO and start reading books. Reading is a hard habit to form, and we all have habits. One way or the other, we have a habit of reading or we have a habit of not reading. Which one do you have? And again, they think I've got to read 52 books a year. No, you don't have to read 52 books a year. Now, if you're not accustomed to reading, you're not going to read 52 books in a year. It's just not going to happen. That would be like me stepping out and saying, I'm going to go run a full marathon. And right now, that I couldn't run a whole mile. It's not going, you got to build up to those things. You've got to build up, but it all starts with being intentional and making it going to happen. And so, like what I tell people as they're getting ready to go on and just start going from here is to make growth your goal. Make it a point that I'm going to grow. People we're used to setting targets, and I'm going to make 10 widgets this week, or I'm going to sell one of that this week, and fill in the blank. But make growth your goal. So instead of thinking I'm going to do X, Y, Z, then make it a point to where you say, I'm going to grow. I'm going to become a better person. I'm going to be better. Okay. And so if hitting your goal is your target, say you might hit your goal, but it doesn't guarantee that you'll grow. But if growth is your goal, then you will grow. And the chances are you will hit your other goals as well. Think about that. If my goal is to become a better person, I'll become a better teacher. I'll become a better leader. I'll become a better father, mother, husband, wife, child, that coach, teacher, that business director, that fill in the blank. You will become better because you will start to be better. You become a better person with your growth journey. Guys, I can't begin to hit on this enough. That it's why I'm so passionate. I know what personal growth and development has done for me. And I tell you, if you knew Aaron Clark back in high school or college, or even when I first started got coaching, that guy was a firecracker. You probably wouldn't. I mean, that you would still like. I mean, everybody would love me. Everybody loves me, right? Right. But that you would look back at that person, if I were to introduce y'all to him versus who I am now, and you'd be like, oh my goodness, that was you. That person right there that you just introduced me to was you. Versus who I am today and how I'm able to lead. And look at certain situations. There's a lot of stuff that goes on right now, and I go, I'm so glad that I'm growing and intentional about this, that I'm setting aside time daily to work on myself, daily to make sure that I become a better person, guys. And that it's got to be a priority. You've got to make it a priority. And the one that I love that is, I was literally just asking my oldest son about this today. I said, hey, have you started reading that book that your coach told you to start reading? He said, well, I got a chapter or two done. I just don't have time. And so let me correct that thought process. You didn't make it a priority. Everybody will then say, oh, time management, time management, time management. There is no such thing as time management unless you're in a football or basketball or hockey game where I can tell you, hey, time out, time out, time out. And the clock stops. The clock doesn't stop in my day-to-day life. It's all about managing priorities. Because what you want to get done will get done. It's the same here. I've got to be intentional about setting aside this time daily. And I won't tell you what time you need to do it. But for me, it's in the morning. And I do it in the morning because that's when I'm at my best. I want to give myself the best effort. I want to make sure that I'm giving me 100%. I have friends who their quiet time, when they actually sit down and read and study and try to become better, is at 10, 11 o'clock at night, because that's when they're mostly active. That's when they're at their best, is late in the day. They're night owls. So do it then. That's when it's best for you. Some of you may say, hey, I'm really like middle of the day is kind of my thing. Do it during your lunch. They take your lunch break and get your reading in. They get and there's seven different things, and I'm going to do a separate podcast on all seven of these to really go in and explain these key ways for you to grow as a person. And so there's seven different ways, things that you can do. Number one is reading, and I believe that's the most important one. Like physically reading a book is the most important thing you can do. And I'll get asked all the time, well, Aaron, what about audiobooks? Well, do you read an audiobook or do you listen to an audiobook? The reading is to the brain what exercise is to the body. Reading is super important. Set aside, even if it's just 10 minutes. When I first got started, guys, you don't have to get super deep into it. I was told, hey, spend 5 minutes. And you know what I did? I would set an alarm for 5 minutes. I'd set that timer, I'd press start, and I'd start reading. And when that timer went off, I finished where I was and closed the book and was like, oh, I'm so glad that's done. Well, it's because I was exercising a new muscle. It's the same thing if you were going into the gym to do this, or if you were trying to learn a new skill, cooking, or fill in the blank. It's something new. It takes time, but you got to be committed to it. The second, prayer and meditation. Those are crucial. Those are part of my day. And that's really how I start my day before I get to reading. Third, visualization. Visualizing what you want out of today. What are your goals? And visualizing and seeing that target and making it happen. And whenever I was coaching football, I got to coach quarterbacks one spring. We didn't have a quarterbacks coach. And so I got to coach quarterbacks. And one thing I learned while I was coaching quarterbacks is while we're all watching that beautiful throw that happen. So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is he's doing all sorts of cool stuff right now, right? That guy can sling it. But the quarterback isn't looking anywhere other than the target. He knows how that ball needs to go in order to make it hit. So if I'm trying to get it to you right now, I'm going to have my eyes right on you and I'm going to put that ball on you. I did not realize how important it was for them to visualize. Tiger Woods talks about it all the time. I don't care if you love or hate Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of all time. I think only Jack Nicklaus has won more major tournaments than Tiger has, and it's by 2. But Tiger, man, he talks about that all the time. The visualization. How do I see this ball traveling to get to the hole? Super important. Visualize your day. What do you see going to happen? Now, how is that going to make you better? 4, exercise. And look, guys, don't think I got to go spend 2 hours in the gym. 5 to 10 minutes is all you need. Number 5, affirmations. That say and read these out loud. But affirming what you want to believe, whether you believe it or not, say it out loud. You will eventually believe what you are saying. Number 6, positive audio. This is where those audiobooks come in. I listen to them. I love audiobooks. But I also love the different positive audio. Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Eric Thomas. Go find and listen to those guys. And there's so many other places. Clark Connection podcast. They have positive audio. We're talking about ways to build up and challenge your thought process. Number 7, journaling. And there's a million different ways you can journal, but get you a good journal and start doing that. And guys, you don't need to do all 7 of these. If you aren't doing any of them, pick one and start. Just 5 minutes a day. Pick one. If you're like, man, I don't do any, and pick one that you know is going to be easy for you. But be intentional. Set that time aside. Now, if you set just 18 minutes a day, if you said, I'm going to read, or I'm going to pray, or I'm going to visualize, or I'm going to exercise, at the end of the year, that puts you doing that task for 100 hours. And once you start doing something for 100 hours, that's when you start moving into that expert level. So just by doing it 18 minutes a day, 18 minutes, that's it. But it's got to be a priority. It has to be something that's important enough for you to do daily. And we all have priorities. We all have habits. But is making yourself better a habit that you want to focus on now? And so I'm going to close with that, guys. What's your plan for personal growth? That is such a great question to think about. And guys, tune back in next week. We're going to pick up on those 7 key to developing yourself personally. And guys, they start focusing, they start thinking, how am I going to do this? What's my plan for personal growth? How am I going to make myself better? And so we will see you next time on the Clark Connection Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_A_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metal Associates, Bobby at A Comfy Quest LLC, and Andrew at Automate Integrate Professional Services. We look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.